It's the 50th anniversary of the two scariest notes in musical history. Dun-na. Dun-na.
Da-dum, 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 da-dum.
Dun-na, 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 dun.
The first show in the season is called The Shark is Broken. In the summer of 1975, I was 9 years old and way too young to see the movie Jaws. But it doesn't mean that I was not keenly aware of it. It was the first thing that had captured the cultural imagination like anything I'd ever experienced before. There were skits on the Muppets. There was a cartoon called Jabberjaw in 1976. There was a novelty song that would come on the radio all the time called Mr. Jaws, and with an interviewer interviewing the shark and all the characters from Jaws, and they would use snippets of popular music at the time for the answers. Also, the Saturday Night Live skit Land Shark, which is, I probably was too young to see Saturday Night Live, but I watched it anyway. The play is about, the other aspect that came out of shooting that film was that the shark, the mechanical shark, was constantly breaking. The shark's name was Bruce, and it was constantly breaking. This play, The Shark is Broken, is a fictional account of the three actors in the movie, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, and Roy Scheider, waiting for the shark to be repaired in between takes on the boat, the Orca. So I've found it really amusing and kind of heartfelt. It's written by Robert Shaw's son, Ian Shaw. It started in the Edinburgh Film Festival, then went to the West End, and then went to Broadway to sold-out houses. So we're really excited to do it here.
It's this almost like an oral history of the making of Jaws. It is fascinating.
I'm so excited for there to be a boat on stage. Where's it gonna go? How big is it gonna be? How do you do a play in and around a boat? I can't wait.
I actually had the sheet music to that and worked on it in my piano lessons. I could probably still play it today. Is This a Room is about a young Air Force veteran who's also an Arabic translator for the NSA. And she is suspected of being a whistleblower about some documents about a NSA report that she gives out to the media. And the play is about her being interrogated by the FBI about leaking information, government information. It's actually a true story. Not only is it a true story, but the script is an exact verbatim transcript of the FBI interrogation at her home.
This is a real story. This actually happened.
Reality Winner is the name of the young woman who ended up serving the longest prison sentence ever given for the unauthorized release of government information to a media source. So it reads and plays like a suspense thriller and had wonderful reviews in New York on Broadway when it played in 2022.
To choose something to share with people the truth of a thing that happened in a moment when the truth is really hard. And I think it's an incredibly courageous choice to share with audiences and trust those audiences that they can handle the truth. I think that's what impressed me the most about Charlie's proposal of that piece.
Is this a room? You could say it other ways.
Like?
I think in the context of the play, it is said, is this a room? As in, is this space a room? But you could say, is this a room?
Is this a room? Is this a room? Is this a room?
Is this a room? Is this a room? Is this a room?
Or, is this a room? Jeeves in Bloom.
It's my favorite Jeeves. It's my favorite Jeeves.
Jeeves and Bertie go to visit Bertie's Aunt Dahlia out in the country, who happens to be hosting Madeline Bassett.
So North Carolina Stage Company patrons who come to the Jeeves plays are very familiar with Aunt Agatha, but Aunt Dahlia is a very different variety of Bertie's aunts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Aunt Dahlia. Coffee.
And Madeline has a thing for Bertie, but Bertie's friend Gussie Finknottle has a thing for Madeline.
I love Gussie Finknottle, the newt fancier, and Madeline Bassett.
And Gussie can't talk to Madeline because he really prefers to talk to newts. Also, there is a theft that Aunt Dahlia is trying to get Bertie to help with so she can get some insurance money. And then you throw in there this French chef that has a really bad temper. And it's very funny.
It is just, it's just fabulous. I'm so excited about it.
My favorite part about the Jeeves experience is, I have two favorite parts. One is getting to work with all of these actors year after year who are some of the most delightful human beings and incredibly skilled at what they do. But I also love hearing audiences laugh. And the last show we did before the pandemic happened was Jeeves Saves the Day. And the last thing I heard in the theater was laughter. And then for years, it was quiet. And that is my favorite thing, is that everyone gets to come in the darkest months of the year, in January and February, and have a good laugh and enjoy a common moment together.
Tiny Beautiful Things is an adaptation of advice columns that Cheryl Strayed, the author, made into a book, a compilation of her work as an anonymous advice columnist. It had been a movie, it's been a television show in 2022, and it was made into a stage version 2016 and premiered at the Public Theater in New York to sold-out performances and wonderful reviews. Cheryl Strayed has this remarkable ability to sort of talk to people on where they need to be met with a sense of compassion, empathy, but also brutal honesty.
So I read Tiny Beautiful Things when it was a book and absolutely loved it. I think I read it in a couple of sittings and was really excited to see how it would turn into a play. Like, how is this theatrical? It wasn't obvious to me. But I think what the playwright has done really beautifully is bring out this human experience that is shared by the questions that are sent to the advice columnist.
It explores the range of the human experience.
And has knit them into something that does feel like it is taking you on a journey, because the advice giver, Cheryl Strayed, is going on a journey.
And so you have all these different situations that people find themselves in, all in the same story, and how no matter how much joy and how much hardship there is also a lot of joy and just some intense humanity that we, I think, often lose sight of when there is, especially when there's challenge, when somebody's going through something that we either find difficult to understand or don't agree with.
And it feels to me like a really quintessential NC Stage play, in that it can only happen in this medium. It has to be theatrical, and it's not, there isn't a tidy resolution to it. It is really taking you on a journey and asking you to meet it halfway.
And it's a wonderfully moving play that I'm really excited to have in our season. When I first met Angie Flynn McKeever, her name was Angie Flynn.
Before Charlie and I moved to Asheville to start North Carolina Stage Company, one of the big jobs that I had was the education director at the National Shakespeare Company in New York.
And she would take shortened versions of Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth out to about 40,000 school children in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey.
And long story short, I started their education program, which was a program called Shakespeare to the Quick. And we took abbreviated versions of Shakespeare plays to all over New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And as part of that, we would also offer these workshops, these teaching artist workshops and residency. Sometimes they were just in conjunction with the play. Sometimes they were much longer, happening over weeks. But that meant that every actor in the shows also had to be trained as a teaching artist.
And she would also send teaching artists out into the schools to work on Shakespeare, language. They do fight choreography, all sorts of different workshops with students throughout the tri-state area. One of those people, Nalaja Sun, went on to also be a teaching artist with Epic Theater Ensemble.
And she played the nurse in Romeo and Juliet, and really her teaching artist career really took off around that time. So she worked with us for a while and then went on to some of the biggest programs in New York City.
And wrote a one-person play about her experience as a teaching artist in the New York public schools.
And No Child, which of course is a play on the No Child Left Behind Act of the Bush administration, is taken from her experiences in the classroom as a teaching artist in New York City.
No Child is a one-person play where she plays all the characters, directing a production of a play called Our Country's Good with some high schoolers at Malcolm X High School in the Bronx.
My takeaway from No Child was how it was a love letter to teachers, and how it is difficult and beautiful, and how the arts in all of that have something to offer everyone involved in that process. And that the amazing thing about teachers is that they see the potential sometimes even when students don't see it themselves.
It is a tour de force for an actor to portray all those characters, and it is it's humorous and moving, like everything we try to do here. Also, it really cuts down to one of the things that we find so valuable about theater and theater education.
It is really funny, really moving, very real, and I'm excited to touch base with that part of that work again, since I haven't done that in a long time.
We all have this this place of innocence that finds connection through storytelling, and that's really possible, and I think that's part of what I really felt drawn to in Nalaja Sun's piece.
No Child is one of those plays that sort of like cuts down to the essence of what North Carolina Stage Company is and how it was founded.
So I would say a few things. One is that I've been talking to my colleagues across North Carolina in theater, professional theater, community theater, and what a lot of people have been saying is, gosh, our audiences, it seems like they're afraid to come out and see something that's not light, or they don't want to come out for something that they don't know. And I've been listening to that, and of course, as a fellow producer, I hear that, and as a person, I hear that. But also, I think that the NC Stage audiences are a special kind of audience. And I think that even though this season is not all light and it's not all comedies, that part of what we are here for is to do those other plays that aren't just the light things and aren't just here to make us forget or to help us escape. And so I hope that our audiences will come out this year and see all of these great productions.